Welcome. The difficulty level of this video is novice. Now, there's a company called Roblox that has done its IPO, its initial public offering, yesterday. And today, the day after the first day of trading, is an opportunity to look at the story of this company and just some highlights about how it achieved its success. The goal here is also to provide some cross-referencing about how this technology company ties into other themes on this channel and where it fits into accelerating rate of change type of thinking and how it enables its own various types of technological disruption. So first off, this is a company that, despite having a valuation of about $45 billion now, it does fairly fit the description of something that appears to be an overnight success, but after 20 years of hard work. So we can start off on the Wikipedia page over here. And the company was actually founded in 2004. If you look at the history over here, it was founded in 2004. And David Baszucki was the founder and remains CEO to this day. More on him later. So it was founded in 2004, quite some time ago. 17 years, in fact. And for the longest time, it didn't really seem to be taking off to a huge degree, at least by the standards of the big technology successes, the big unicorns of today. So another way to analyze this company is to look at its Crunchbase page over here. And this is one of the first places to go for freely available information on what a private company's funding levels have been and some timeline progression around that. So as you can see, it got $855.7 million of funding, which is quite a lot. That is over the 17 years while it was a private company. Once companies take that much funding, it's questionable whether the later investors will have that much upside or whether the early investors and even the early employees have been diluted to such a great degree that they're not going to make anything, no matter how successful the company is. But it took $855 million of funding to date. And it has between 1,000 and 5,000 employees, and all the way down to Series H. Venture financing follows a letter scheme, A, B, C, D. And to get down to H means so many different rounds of funding, so much dilution, such a complicated cap table, meaning complicated ownership of the company. All those things are necessarily not ideal for any high-flying technology company, or disadvantages, not deal breakers by any means, but it kind of weighs down the prospect of a rocket-like ascent. The next thing we want to look at is how long it took for each milestone to exist. Now, Roblox, of course, is a platform on which users can develop content such as games, and through the engine do other things like host their own virtual concerts and things like that. So in some ways, it's analogous to a small YouTube to some extent, even though it, in fact, was founded even before YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. So we go here to this CB Insights list of complete unicorn companies. This is something you should bookmark if you're interested in the churn here. So CB Insights complete list of unicorn companies. I'll have a link below. And as you can see here, Roblox, as a private company, $29.5 billion. This is before the IPO. Today, post-IPO, it's around $45 billion as we speak. But here's the interesting date. The date it joined unicorn status, September 5th, 2018, or 2.5 years ago. So even though it was founded in 2004, it did not cross $1 billion in valuation until late 2018, so about 14 years. It toiled away in obscurity, raised a lot of funding, a lot of rounds, and only got past $1 billion in 2018, September 2018. And then in 2.5 years went from 1 billion to what is now 45 billion. So think of that as an exponential curve. 14 years to get to 1 billion, but then only 2.5 more years to go from 1 billion to 45 billion dollars. And that has a lot of implications for other things we talk about on this channel, such as the accelerating rate of change and the atom framework. Roblox was a tech company, but it moved from not being very high tech to quite a bit more high tech because it enabled the creation of democratized video games. A lot of tools were available to individuals that were not available before, and a lot of creation could occur, again, similar to YouTube. This was in line with what we are familiar with if you read my Atom publication, and that is why it could go from relative obscurity and slow progress to a very rocketed up level. So with that, we should look at some of the numbers of the company as it stands right now. These are some numbers from its recent 2020 financial reporting, so the most recent calendar year that was completed. The revenue is about 924 million. The loss is 253 million a year. So the company is still losing a lot of money. They're making 924 million revenue, but they're spending almost 1.2 billion, so the loss is about 253 million. And as you can see, the valuation is 45 billion. So the valuation is almost 50 times revenue, in fact. Almost 50 times revenue despite being a loss-making company. So its multiple surely has expanded a lot. Now, if you do additional research in the company, you can see that its viewership increased by about 125%, or the number of registered users on it rather, 125% year over year, partly because of this COVID-19 pandemic. More people are at home, they're doing more things online. That is something that has benefited a whole range of internet-based businesses, everything from YouTube to Netflix to Zoom to now apparently Roblox as well. But to have less than 1 billion revenue, to be a substantially loss-making company and still a valuation of 45 billion, that tells you something about the multiples in the marketplace themselves, but also how, as the company moved into a purer form of high tech under Atom principles, it has in fact experienced a valuation multiple expansion, and good for them. Now, with that, we shall look a little bit more into the founder and CEO and a tiny bit about his story. So back here to Wikipedia, we go to their founder and CEO, David Baszucki, who we have mentioned briefly before. Okay, this is a little bit about his biography. It'll be in the description box below. Net worth, post IPO, this has been recently updated, of course. 4.2 billion, roughly 1/10 of the company. So good for him. He managed to avoid dilution despite all of that funding that the company took in while it was a private company. Remember, they took in $855.7 million. That usually leads to a huge amount of dilution, but he was able to hang on to about 10% of the company, thereby has a net worth of 4.2 billion. So as we saw, this is new money, a fortune that's created recently. Remember, as of September 5th, 2018, the company was only 1 billion. So he was only, assuming the same percentage, 100 million net worth. And in the following 2.5 years, and partly boosted by the pandemic where people have had to stay home and a lot of internet businesses were in a position to benefit from that, he went all the way up to 4.2 billion. So one of the newest and most recent multi-billionaires to join the swelling ranks of that group of people. This is his story. With that, if you want to research this company further for whatever reason, you can look at some of the links I've provided. And if you haven't heard about Roblox before, and you like the service, consider joining it or whatever, becoming a creator. If it's something you find fun and profitable, good for you. And we will talk about other companies like this as major market events occur. And I hope you found this informative. Thanks for watching.